don't want to hurt nobody, but we've been axed more than once.
Mm-hmm.
We actually started rapping as a duo.
Yep.
Back a few years ago, but just never really have shared it with anybody. But the time has come.
Yeah, boy.
Why don't you set these fools straight?
Yeah, Seven. These folks kind of know what time it is.
Yo, I'm the S to the E, the V-E-N. My homeboy TJ is my bestest friend. That's all I could come up with right now. I don't even know where I'm at or who this guy is.
You recognize that tune, and you know it's time for Relics Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting and relic hunting. You can call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. You're listening to Relics Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. All right, we're live again from the foothills of the Cumberland Mountains here in southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee, and the chat room is lighting up. Got all kind of people already in, and for those of you that don't know, we adjusted our intro and included Jeff Ford's lip sync skit with us. Jeff said, "I love it." Barb is on, Larry Stevens is on, Deborah Minnick is on, Tim Henderson is on, Ron Reed, Chris Heimsoff, Patrick Cox, Deus Digger, Paul Forsay, and we're ready to get the show started. We've got a great guest with us tonight. We've got Chad out of New Brunswick, Canada, goes by Diggs4ever on YouTube. And got my sidekick. Well, I'm Mutt, and we got Jeff. You guys there?
Yeah, we're here. Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Well, great. Great. Good show, I think, planned tonight. Chad, I've watched a number of your videos, and you've just got a unique style, don't you?
I try to differentiate myself from others, or, try something new here and there, Yeah, some things work, some things don't. You know how she is.
Yeah. And are you the owner at Maritime Metal Detectors?
Yes, I am. I started that about a year ago. I always wanted to, since probably the last 5 years anyway, try and open up a shop in my area. We don't got no one for about 500 miles that sells metal detectors, so I had to give it a go, right, and see how it go. And so last year I decided to open it up in a retail store, and I do a little bit of online also. I don't really focus a lot on that. I mostly focus on the brick and mortar. I like meeting people and talking to them and stuff like that.
Well, that's kind of
Larry Stevens only followed Chad to watch his pup. Now that's pretty neat. I've talked to my wife about taking our dog with me metal detecting. And, I mean, the first deer, rabbit, or whatever he sees, he's going to be gone. I mean, we're going to lose him forever. And then I try to explain that to her. But your dog, he does a real good job, I mean, of keeping up with you and then staying right with you. So
that's Gus, isn't
it? It is. He's never more than 20 yards away from me. It's almost like he's on the job. His life really revolves around me. He's tied to my hip even right now, like, I can't go anywhere without him, right? So I could never picture him tearing off after something or something like that. He's just not that type. So he's a great dog to woods and stuff like that. Like a little story, when he was 1, I started saying I'm not good with directions inside of woods. Like, I would never be able to find my way out without a GPS, right? So I was saying to him at the end of each hunt, let's go to the truck. And eventually he caught on, and now I could be 6-7 miles in to the woods, and I'll say, time to go to the truck, and he'll take my exact path that I took all the way in there and get me right back to the truck. So he's a real good hunting partner, that's for sure.
That's what I used Jeff for. I said, to the truck.
Yeah, I'll have to go get the truck because he's so old he can't walk back to it. That's the reason why.
Yeah, Gus. He looks like a great dog.
Oh, he is. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, they say that a dog is a man's best friend. Talking about your maritime metal detectors, you just gave away an Equinox, didn't you?
Yeah, Jason from MO, I think it's Montana, USA. As soon as I get it in, he's the winner of it. Lucky him. They started shipping off to certain people, but as far as Canada, we haven't got our batch yet. We deal with my distributor's Radio World here. He distributes to all the dealers in Canada. So they're saying in a couple more weeks we should be able to get ours. So that's a pretty good giveaway for him. I'm sure it made his day, that's for sure.
That's a good giveaway for anybody, I tell you.
It really is.
And every supplier right now, or every dealer, is having trouble getting those. I talked to Heath Jones yesterday while we were on the road coming back in from our trip, and I don't know how many that he had got, but not too many, like 2 or 3, and not enough to fill the orders that he had. But I think by the end of the month that that's going to kind of pan out. I think they are in the Panama Canal right now, and it takes a little while to go through customs and all of that. It's not like they're making them here in the U.S. and shipping them out.
Yeah, I think I was told anyway, by the middle of March, everybody should have their units. So I should, I was told expect first week of March. So so a big shipment, they're going to be start rolling out in North America here soon. And I think by March, everybody will have their units for sure.
Yeah, well, that'd be good. And I listened to American Digger magazine Monday night, and their podcast, and they had Debbie on with Mind Lab, and she was talking kind of the same thing that you are, the kind of projected date of getting all of the orders filled and everything. And then she said in the spring they would probably have the 6-inch coil out on that, and then sometime in the summer the larger coil. It's an elliptical coil, and I don't remember what size that they said it was, like a
15 by 12.
Yeah, 12 by 15. Yeah. Got one of your buddies in the chat tonight, Liz with Diggin' Canuck. Do you know her?
Yeah, she's a great woman. She puts out some great stuff. I enjoy her videos. She's always giving away stuff, too. It's nice to see them give back, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got some great videos. She does. So.
Yeah, she puts a lot of effort into it, and a lot of comical stuff. I get a big laugh at her movie scenes that she puts in and whatnot.
Yeah, she works at it. There's no doubt about it. Me and Jeff on our YouTube channel, starting last year, I guess, we started giving away a few things. We gave away 2 or 3 pin pointers, gave away a Predator shovel, and then hooked up with Josh of Beyond Sight and Sound podcast, and we gave away a Mind Lab Go Find, and there was a young man that won that, and that was a joy. I tell you what, it's always a joy to give something away to, especially whenever a young detectorist, wins that, which we had an age on the Go Find. I think you had to be 12 years old or younger, or 15. What was it, Jeff?
It was 15, wow. And then under 15 and under, and then Trevor won it. Out of Alabama, or was it Georgia?
No, he's out of Georgia.
Okay. And then, of course, he'd send a lot of pictures. I mean, it was great seeing him with it. He, as soon as he got it in, he was out in the front yard metal detecting, as Dad said. And, I mean, he found a few coins that day just with the Go Find 40. But, I mean, he had a great time with it and still is. So, I mean, of course, he's hooked now. I mean, sooner or later, he's going to get like everybody else. He'll have 5 or 6 detectors hanging up on the wall and then just trying to figure out which one to use that day. So.
You're 100% right. And, you know, it really means a lot to people when they win something like that, especially something new that they haven't done before or something they're interested in. They'll remember that moment for their whole life. Like, you got to think when you won something or someone else won something. It's a memory. It's a good memory, and it sticks with you a long time. So, and as the person giving away, gives you a lot of satisfaction too, seeing someone like that win, right?
Oh man, there's nothing to compare it
to. Let's see, there's his dad's in there now, so
yeah.
In the comment section.
Yeah, Trenton Yoder is his dad, and he's been following our channel. We actually had Trevor on and his dad after the giveaway was completed, and we had shipped it to him. And Trenton says, my thumbnail picture is Trevor holding his metal detector. So that's just great, I tell you. I don't know, Chad, how long Chad's going to be able to be on tonight. So we're going to, as we're talking here, we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. If you've got a question for Chad, it is 270-495-0315. I think we've got everything situated to where that we could get you on and you could ask Chad a question. But Chad, just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in metal detecting and what have you.
How I got started? Well, I got my first metal detector when I was 7, and it was a pirate metal detector. I remember it, and I got it for Christmas. And I couldn't really metal detect with it because the ground was frozen or whatever, but I had a ball with it. It lasted about, a few months, and then I put it down, and then it got lost somewhere, and then I really got into it when I was probably around 16, 17. You know when the Coin Master came out, Coin Master 2?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It was roughly around there. I went to Canadian Tire to pick up some car wash or, something to wash my car with, and in the middle of the aisle I seen the Coin Master. And I was like, Coin Master, nice. So I snagged it, bought it, and went to the first, when you first get a metal detector, when you're first starting off, first clue, go to the beach, right?
Yeah.
So the beach, hit the dry sand, found my first nail. And I was excited. It really excited me finding that nail. I thought it was the bee's knees. So after that, I went to, did around the little land areas and got my first coin, and then I was just hooked from there. And basically, that was, I want to say 98 is when I got that machine, and, I hit it pretty hard from there on out. What really got me, though, was, the researching part of things. Metal detecting's great and all that, but when I was first starting off, I found during the winter months when I was researching sites and what I was learning, that really hooked me onto metal detecting.
I think that's the case with a lot of people. I think the lure of history and finding out about the old sites, and you've got a lot of history in your area, don't you?
Yeah, we first formed, Samuel de Champlain found us in 1604, so that gives you a little bit of idea of the amount of time that we have. They say that the Vikings were in Newfoundland. That's not too far from us. Mm-hmm. 1000 AD. Jack Cartier, he went up the Quebec River around that area in the 1500s. So, this is pretty much where she all began there for North America.
And if
so that's pretty neat. You never know what you're going to find. And then actually the research, after I got to detecting quite a bit, then like you said, I was in the research, and then I had a lot of fun doing the research. And actually, people in my area, they would have been looking for it's called Martin's Block House for years. For 100 years they've been looking for it. And actually, after going through the paperwork and everything, I believe I've located Martin's Blockhouse. So I've just got to do a little bit more research on it, and then to get archaeologists involved and see if I can prove it is Martin's Blockhouse. So,
and the moment you found that, freaking right out more than you're probably your best find. It's just amazing when you discover something like that. Something not too many people know.
And see, I didn't even know at the time. I didn't even know what I'd discovered until after I started talking to the other people. And I was like, "Well, you'll find this. You should find this. You should find that." And then after I found it, I mean, of course, I found it like last year, and then of course now I started researching Martin's Blockhouse, and it's opened up a lot more doors for me in this area. So, but yeah, the research is awesome.
That's right. Something not too many people know about me is that I always have like a big project underway. I research yearly spots like everybody does in the winter, and then the next season's dig spots. But I also spend years researching and hunting for military artifacts. Like I'll spend years working on a signal project. For instance, right now I'm working on like the 104th Regiment on foot. They were a regiment in the War of 1812. In the winter, they marched from my area, New Brunswick, all the way up to Ontario to fight in that war. And it's just, they made campsites all along. Like they marched 12 to 18 kilometers a day. And along the river, the river was frozen, so they'd set up camp, in whichever area suited them best, like whatever bank had less wind that day or whatever. So I've been searching for a couple of years now trying to find one of their campsites. And I haven't been able to find one yet, but like the moment I do is going to be a huge moment for me. I know that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be amazing. I have found... Well, this one location, I did find a couple of War of 1812 buttons and a lot of tomback buttons. Of course, back in the 1700s, they were used as military buttons, too. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on there. But, yeah, that would be awesome to find one of their camps.
Yeah, it would be. It's just, it's a dream. Before this, my last one in 2013, I found a King's New Brunswick Regiment campsite, and I worked on that for about a year and a half. And it turned out, like, I'll spend some time in the archives at the museum, and I put in the time that it takes to find these places. But, it was about a year and a half I looked the whole season, couldn't find it, and then the next year I was able to find it. I found a cannonball in the King's New Brunswick Regiment button about 4 feet from it, and that's my best find to this day. It's just not really, the best find, but it's the best find for me because of the work that I put into it and, the hours I put in reading diaries and whatnot that led me to the spot.
And it's rewarding when you do the research and then you're actually able to walk and locate the spot. And, even if you just find in square nails, as you mentioned earlier, it's a thrill because your research paid off, and you know that you're going to find some stuff. And,
yeah, that's right.
And you donate some stuff to the museum, is that correct?
Yeah, I donated the King's New Brunswick Regiment button and the cannonball to the museum here. Yeah, that was thrilling too. I called them up. They kind of gave me a little bit of flack at first because they said we can't accept nothing from historical spots and. But I was like, whoa, this isn't from a historical spot. And I told them where it was, and they were quite amazed that I found it there. So, yeah, it was a good moment.
And I noticed on some of your videos some of the Cohen finds that you found. You had a 1679 shilling. That was a great find. You had a 1870 $50. Tell us about those finds.
Yeah, the 1870 was actually in a park. The park, we have squares in my neck of the woods, and we had a great fire in the 1800s, and all the townspeople put up tents in the square, and they lived in the square. So these squares hold like a lot of older finds, all the way down to reals. I found a real in one of the squares. So I always hunt them. Some days you go bust, some days you don't, but there's always something there, and you don't know what you're going to pull out of the ground. But I ended up getting that. I sent it in, and it had a little chip in the top corner of it, and it came back as damaged. But it's just hanging on my wall. One of the red, I put red belt in a picture frame and hang them up, right? So I'll keep it in there. It looks nicer anyway than a PGS holder.
And one of my favorite finds that you found was when you found the 1679 shilling. You also found an annular buckle that dates back, what was it, 1640 to 1670?
Yeah, that time frame. That's actually in the museum now. Stephen Hughes at the local museum, I handed that over to them. There's a stamp on it, and they're looking into the stamp to try and get exactly where it's from. But yeah, it's a real thin silver. It's just very delicate, and that was the first annular brooch for me, anyway. And that was a great find. The coin, probably 30 feet from that, on a farmer's field that I got permission for, and I've hunted that field a ton. You guys see other videos there, and I think I might have found a powder flask there also. That I think it's a powder flask anyway. I never found a powder flask before, but I hadn't had no one look at it yet. But if it is, then it'd be great to try and date that back to whenever that. Maybe you guys can tell me more about powder flasks. I don't know much about them, but the date range on them anyway. But a lot of early tokens in my area, like we used to use large penny tokens as currency. And so that'd be the colonial era, so 1790s to early 1800s. We had tokens instead of large cents. So all that came out of this field, and that was one of the last times I hunted it was that time. And yeah, that was a thrilling hunt, that's for sure.
Man, I'm ready to go to Canada. Aren't you, Seven?
Yeah, I am.
Man.
And somebody else said in here too, I don't know if it's Barb or somebody said, I'm heading north. We need to all get together and go up and visit with Chad and hunt his spots.
Yeah, spend the night research in New Brunswick. You'd be quite thrilled. In some good reads there. Read up on the 104th, like I was just telling you about, in their venture. And they actually went to New York. That was their mission. They had to go to New York, a naval base in 1813, and they fought with them guys, right? So it's quite the story behind it.
Well, we do, a lot of Civil War hunting here, but we do have a little bit of War of 1812, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but I think most of that was probably soldiers that brought those things home, don't you think?
Yes, I believe it was. I mean, of course, Andrew Jackson, he stayed down here close to the house, but I mean, he most of your buttons and stuff is people that brought them home, just uniforms and stuff. So I mean,
little trinket.
But I've been lucky enough to get a handful of them, and then I mean, I'm looking for them every day, or trying to. So, but there's nothing like finding a War of 1812 button. I mean, you can find a general service all day long. Now, I mean, if I find a Confederate Tennessee button or something like that, it'd be a little bit different. But, I mean, I can find general services all day long. But the more of 1812s, I really like them.
And in my area also, there wasn't a lot of military activity or regimental activity. It's just mostly they disbanded here, and they formed the King, as mentioned, in the King's New Brunswick Regiment. They were our first New Brunswick, or our first regiment to be formed. A French frigate, I think it was 1790s, was seen coming up the St. John River. And so the townspeople got together and they formed what's called the King's New Brunswick Regiment. And other than that, most of them were just sent off to Ontario and places like that to fight in the War of 1812.
Man, you got a lot of history there, I tell you what. And you're eventually going to get into some of those camps, I know.
I hope so. I'm hoping this year. I've been working on the signal towers and the campsites of the 104th. If I find the 104th campsite, if I can find one, I have the locations. There's almost 20 campsites that they had. There's 500 men, 23 officers. If I can find the first one, no matter which part of the river it's on, whether it's closer to Quebec or here, then you can gauge that and find the other ones. But it's all those, because it's all written down how many kilometers they walk per day and descriptions, right? But it's just finding that first one that's hard. So I go out, I'll spend a day here and there, and I'll walk along the shoreline, and anything looks interesting, I'll go up and check that out. But I probably 30 miles so far and haven't been able to find nothing yet. But it's coming.
Yeah, well, the Civil War camp that I hunt, that's about a mile from my house, I walked a year before I found it. And, where everybody said it was and the research that I did on it, a lot of times it'll lead you in the wrong way. But you miss a foot, sometimes you miss a mile. I started to actually leave this place and found a mini ball and stayed, and I'm certainly glad that I did, But and I noticed on most of your videos, and it's kind of surprising in a way, you use CTX mainly, don't you?
For the most part, just because I have so long on the machine. Like especially if I'm first hunting an area, I have the most confidence with my CTX. I've been using it for 6 years now, so I know how it talks to me, and I like doing a first run on that machine. I'll use other machines. I like the Deus. I don't like comparing the Deus to the CTX. I think that they go hand in hand with each other. I think they're two totally different detectors, and when used together, that's when they perform the best, right?
Yeah. And I think that you've got the same comparison, sometimes between detectors. I had a CTX, and it really didn't do, and I hunted with it for probably 3 years, but it really wasn't the machine that I needed for the kind of hunting that we're doing. I've got a GPX now for most of our Civil War stuff that we hunt, and then an AT Pro, and I'm looking at an Equinox. I've talked to several of them. I'm not going to jump into it, but they say that it's an amazing machine.
I think it bridges the gap. The CTX.
Yeah, that's the way I am. I'm gonna wait maybe a few months before I say I'm going to buy one. But I'm kind of looking into it. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chad.
Well, like the Deus, if it's an iron-ridden sight, for sure, I enjoy that machine. Like I can't take the CTX and get close to a cellar hole. There's just too much iron. It's too slow. But I'll leave that for the Deus. But like out in field hunting and whatnot, I enjoy taking the CTX with the larger coil. But the Equinox, I can't really comment on it yet, but it seems to bridge that gap between, let's say, the CTX and the Deus. It's like a happy medium. It's going to have nuances. We'll figure those out as we get our hands on them, right?
Right.
But, it's definitely a machine that's it's going to be worth looking at. Whether it's even if it's not as good as the Deus, let's just say, well, it's going to be a great starter detector for people just for the price point of it. It's the same price, $900, $1,000 is from what I see you're getting so far is going to be a pretty good entry level machine.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I've never seen this. I've never seen the buzz that I've seen with a detector coming out as I have on the Equinox. You say Equinox and I say Equinox, but now we're just two rednecks with a metal detector down south here.
You're probably right. Listen, don't go by my pronunciations.
And I noticed that you use the 17-inch coil on your CTX a whole lot. Is that just for coverage?
Coverage, yeah. And the middle of the coil, I find you get about 3 inches for those really, really hard to hit deep signals. The center of the coil on the stock coil, let's say the 11-inch coil, is only about an inch. There's just a little inch there that you got to hit those really deep signals. On the bigger coil, you got about 2 inches. And I found a lot of stuff and compared them that the stock, of course, the smaller coil would not hit, but the bigger coil does. I don't take it to iron sights or nothing like that, but out for fields, and I even take it to the park once I've gone over a place a few times, and it's knocked out some pretty killer finds for me.
Well, I noticed on most of the 1679 shilling, the 1870 half dollar, the annular. Is that a buckle or is it a brooch?
I want to say it's a brooch.
Okay.
Mr. Hughes never got back yet with exactly what it is or the date, but I want to say it's an annular brooch.
But you found all that with that 17-inch coil, didn't you?
Yeah, yes, I did. And
Lloyd, maybe you should have got a 17-inch coil.
I had one.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
You had one?
Yeah, I had a 17-inch coil with my CTX. I had a 17 and I had a 6 and I had the stock 11, and Missouri Mac bought it. There's times that I miss it, but we hunt a lot of sites that are just loaded with iron, and it's not a machine to use there.
No, that's it's useless. Pretty much useless at spots like that.
And I went back over a couple of colonial sites, and when we say colonial, we're talking about early pioneer, late 1700s here. I went back over a couple of those sites with AT Pro after I'd hunted it to death with CTX and pulled out some more buttons between the iron and actually pulled out some reals, between the iron. So I'm looking for a deeper, quicker, multi-frequency machine like the Equinox, and I think that that's a big selling point on it. In fact, we're going to have a show coming up sometime in March. Going to have Heath Jones on, and we're going to dedicate one show to the Equinox, and maybe have some other guys on as well on that. Hey guys,
yeah, that's good.
We got Chad Diggs4ever. If you've got a question or that you want to ask him or a comment or anything, the lines are open, 270-495-0315. And we're coming up on a hard break right now, and we'll be back with you in just a If your passion is metal detecting, then you know how much your success is based on the equipment you use. Let my buddy Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, help you with that. Tim is an authorized dealer of Garrett, XP Deus, Tesoro, and macro detectors and supplies. He also carries a variety of aftermarket coils. Murray Branch Outdoors is not only competitive in their prices, but the service after the sale is second to none. We've all experienced those situations where we purchase a new detector and then we get out in the field and we have questions about settings or operation of that particular detector. Well, I tell you what, with your purchase from Murray Branch Outdoors, you're also going to get Tim's personal cell phone number. That's right, his own cell phone number, and you're just a quick phone call away from getting answers to those questions. Now try that with some chain store purchase of a detector. Murray Branch Outdoors also deals in used detectors, and he'll give you top dollar for your trade-in whenever you decide to upgrade. So give Tim of Murray Branch Outdoors a call at 615-948-4611 and tell him Relics Radio said hey. Pay a few bills there. Jeff, I've talked too much. Why don't you talk to Chad? I'm sure you've got some questions.
Well, I was talking about earlier. We were talking about the weather up there. Now, Chad, during the winter, what kind of temperatures are you looking at?
On average, it's minus 20 from January till the first couple of weeks in February. Those are our coldest days. So that's minus 20 Celsius. I'm not sure what that works out to in Fahrenheit, but she can get cold. We're talking like windshield minus 35. So it really freezes I can't go get in. Some woods don't freeze up in some areas. Our woods freeze solid, no matter where it is. So she can get pretty cold.
Oh, yeah. See, ours was 71 degrees Fahrenheit today. So, I mean, we almost broke the record today for the high. I think the high was The record high was 74, but I mean, it would have been a great day to dig. We did have some rain on and off, but I'd seen your video of your gold coin. Now that was a great find. So, I mean,
yeah, and it's an area that's been hunted to death, and I've been over that area a dozen times. My dog, I don't know if he could smell that thing or not. He was sitting right on it. You notice that?
He was sitting. You had to like scoot him up with the coil, and there it was.
A lot of people, I hit a virgin beach one time. It's one of my more popular videos, and a lot of the people say there's a dog print almost on every one of your silver coins that you got in that video. So I don't know. I'm looking into the theory that he could smell them out or something, but that was an old picnic site, a gold coin. In the early 1900s, it was a train stop and picnic area, and it's about 20 acres of area that it was just 6-7 years ago. There was coins on top of the ground. It was just loaded with stuff. So this place has produced a ton of good finds, and I was more than thrilled to have found that. And I went out of my head when I found it. Like I didn't, I was very giddy and. As you've seen, I buried the pinpointer, and I cringe when I watch the video now. It's kind of.
I would have been. I mean, I would have crapped my pants too, like you said you were going to do. But I mean, I've never found one, and Seven's never found one.
No, that's what we're looking for.
We've been hunting quite a while, and then, of course, our day's coming. I mean. Sooner or later, we're going to find one. I mean, well, I hope. I have good feelings about it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll get one. You just don't know what signal it's going to be, right? Like that one was an odd one. It was double beeping. There's a lot of iron in the area also. And like I said, I've been over that spot a dozen times, that exact spot, because, we gridded the place. And it's just this day it decided to pop up. It's amazing how that works out.
It is, and Seven and I, we've talked about it several times, and then, like, you'll go to a spot one day, and then you'll get signals, but it seems like the next day or the 2 days later when you go back, either there's not any signals or there's 10 times more. And then, see, we talk about, like, a full moon, say, during a full moon or right after a full moon. I mean, it does. I don't know what causes it, but it seems like the signals just pop out a lot better here. After
and another thing is moisture. I find, like, I hunt a lot in the rain. I find I'll go back to old sites when it's raining, and I do this purposely, and I'll hunt a spot when the ground's really saturated, and you'll pop out some good finds that you just clearly couldn't hear before, or for whatever reason, when it's really saturated, it carries out a signal through the ground a lot better.
When the ground is wet, I mean, we call that the halo effect down here, and it's just like the minerals of the target is soaked into the ground more. Or, I mean, Seven he's older, he may be able to discuss it a little bit better than I can, but I mean, when the ground is a lot more moist, you'll get better targets.
Yeah. We tried that at Greenfield Fort. We were talking, and we every now and then we'll have a sit down and we'll just talk, during a hunt about what we're doing or what we've done or finds that we've made. And but on that particular hunt, there was a storm rolling in, and the signals were pretty scarce that day and didn't really sound all that good. And we could hear thunder in the background, and we were kind of watching the storm. But as it got closer, I mean, the signals just started screaming in the same places that we'd been hunting. And then, of course, after the storm moved through, we got under shelter there and let it go through. And, of course, when the ground got wet, the signals were great again. So I think atmosphere has a lot to do with it. Hey, we got a question that came in from Missouri Mac. He's the one that bought my CTX. He wants to know what program that you run on your CTX most of the time.
I run my own program. I run very little discrimination. I just run a small bar in the corner of discrimination, and I bump the iron tones down past the 27 line. there's countless times that if you don't bump that iron tone down past the 27 line, targets will ring up. I think it's naturally set on 24 or 23 or something like that. So the deeper targets will pop up in the iron zone. So when you lower that down, you give yourself a lot more room to hear those deep ones because it tends to bring it down past that line. So that's the biggest tip I give people is drop that iron tone below the 27 marker. And just a small little bit of discrimination. I don't run no programs or no coin patterns or nothing like that. It's just 2 blocks in the bottom corner, and that's it.
You're talking about just in the lower right corner there where you're getting most of
the 50 lines, yeah.
Yeah. Are you running 50 tone in yours, or what kind of tones are you running?
Yeah, I do run 50 tones. I run 5 tone also. Like I don't run depends which way I'm hunting. If I'm hunting in a park or something, I'll go with 50 tones because it gives you a little bit more information. But out in the woods and stuff, I'll just either 2 tones or up to 5 tones. And I'll run combined here and there, or high trash seems to do well. It depends on the situation, though. I don't run Ferris coin a whole lot because that bumps some signals down to the eye. Some good targets, if it's near iron, it will give a false or put it in the iron zone range. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I understand. And there's another thing. Do you run yours on recovery fast? I heard some guys talking the other day, and I'd never thought about it, but they said a lot of times if you run it on recovery fast, you're losing some depth. Have you found that?
Because it's all about the processing, like recovery deep, off, recovery fast, off. I keep as much off on the CTX as I possibly can. I find it runs a ton better. The less it has to go through, the less information it has to analyze, the better. For my case, anyway, for my neck of the woods. So I run as much as I can and turned off. I don't make the machine try and overwork it. It's a slower machine as is. I don't try and, even though it's recovery fast, I still find that it clips signals. You don't get the full signal. So it'll sound like if you run it on, it'll sound kind of like a false chirp instead of giving you a nicer, smoother signal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Quarter Hoarder wanted to know, is this how I'm spending my anniversary getaway? No, we're back. We're back, Jason. We, Raina and I made a trip. We went across Kentucky and went into the Cumberland Gap there and went on into Virginia and then went down to North Carolina and then down to South Carolina and back up through the Smokies. And I just missed Barb at Asheville, North Carolina. I think she had a meeting there the morning that we left. That was a bummer because I don't think I'm going to get to go to DIV.
It's not looking good, but you never know. I mean,
well, they
could put on there as like if you want to go, just send in your money. Of course, there's only 13 of you left? In front of you?
No, there's 13 in front of me, but there's like 23 or 25 left. Well, it'll be what it'll be. Chad, one thing that I wanted to ask, what is, in your mind, your best find that you've ever found?
The one I was mentioning there, the King's New Brunswick Regiment button and cannonball, just for the work I put in. And it wasn't a gold coin or nothing like that. It had to be that cannonball and button. It was pretty close near it, just for the fact of, it took me so long to find it. It was a reward for me. I don't find a lot of cannonballs. So to find those next to each other and be able to date it and know where it came from, it's a pretty rewarding moment. So that, for me, was my best find, for sure.
And that's just because of the work that you put in. You're rewarded with those finds, because a lot of people would say, there's nothing that's going to top a gold coin, but they don't understand the work that goes into research and everything.
Yeah, I was thrilled over that cannonball and that button for a long time. Even more so than I was by myself. I didn't record that video when I found that, but I was jumping up for joy that day.
And you do almost all live digs, don't you?
I try to, if the conditions permit it to. I don't show a lot of digs too. Like it's hard when you're by yourself to film all that, and I just use a little simple GoPro setup and whatnot. But plus the footage, like when I go out digging, I'm digging 12 hours or something. It's the amount of junk I dig. It's hard to get the good signals caught on film too, right? Like with the live digs, right? So I'll spend a day, if I'm going to film, I'll go out there and I'll try and find the best signals I can, or the harder ones, so I can teach someone something or something like that. Like they're fine. They're picked, they're fine-tuned signals that I'll record on, right? But a lot of my hunts aren't filmed at all. I wish I could, but I can't.
It's a lot of work. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And Missouri Mike was asking about, what program that you used there a while ago. I noticed in a lot of your videos, and if you use a CTX, you need to watch Diggs4ever videos, because you do a lot of training in your videos, don't you?
I try to. The main thing I use YouTube for is to try and teach someone something, or like answer questions about something. It's not about me. It's about just I try and get back. I started watching YouTube way back when. Every time I needed to know how to do something, so that's what I kind of base my shows off of. I try and teach you. There's people out there that know a lot more than me, and I learn stuff too. But I try and give my knowledge back to the people, right?
Yeah, that's
a good thing.
Yep. What else you got, Jeff?
Well, I know nothing about the CTX. So, I mean, you're talking way over my head. I've heard yours operate, and actually standing next to you, it gets on my nerves. But it was a lot of beeping carrying. It's like the Racer 2 making a lot of noise. But the way Chad's doing, it seems like it's a great machine. And I've seen other videos at it.
I bought a Deus back in 2012. I was like one of the first people around this area to run a Deus. I actually have you can find some old clips of mine from my old channel where I was using the Deus. And when it was version, I think 1 or 2, when I first got the Deus, it was ringing up hot on foil. Like, it was a big problem with the Deus back then. So I ended up getting rid of it, and then I went with the CTX. But I love the Deus too. It's great for like I was saying, for the relic hunting and the hillsides. And I'm 36 now, and I found last year my back started hurting with the CTX. First time it's ever gave me issues. And now if I'm out like a few hours with it, my lower back starts to really get to me, right? So
yeah, Jeff's got that problem.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah, it's something that creeps up on you quick too.
And especially using the 17-inch coil.
Man. I know I've got that 15-inch for the GPX, and I've got that sling. Well, it's called the I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's the vest that you put on. It's got the bungee cord on it attached to the detector from Mine Lab. And if I don't have that on, that 15-inch coil is like swinging a brick old block. It's terrible. And you hunt 30 minutes and you're done with it. But
I actually will be running the GPX 5000 this year. I'm just learning it now, doing some tests with it and stuff. But I can't wait to get some videos going on that. You guys run the 4500?
I've got a 45.
I've got the 4800, and he's got the 4500. And the 5000, is a real good machine too. That's the step up above ours. So you'll really like it once you get used to it.
Yeah. So I got that for do some relic hunting and stuff like that with it this year. I love digging iron. I love digging iron too. Like iron will tell you a major story about the ground you're in.
Oh yeah, it will.
I don't know if you guys watch Curse of Oak Island. Did you ever see that show where they're digging up?
Oh yeah,
my area?
Watch it about every week. So
Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes they pass up those iron signals when they're looking through the tailings and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, geez, you got to dig those, right?
I know it.
well, see, that's part of the show. I see that too, and I'm like, man, it's like you had a signal there, and then of course I just assume that's part of the show. So I mean,
Yeah, it could be. Maybe.
it's like, yeah, I mean, they could have a lot of us guys go up there, and if there's anything on the surface, it will be found. I promise you. I mean, we'll find it. So
We've
it
actually
doesn't matter what it is.
We've actually talked to Gary Drayton and invited him on the show, and he told me he's got some other projects that he's working on right now, and couldn't come on, but I think that eventually he will. I'm sure that there's a lot of conflict between the show. I'm sure that he's afraid that we're going to ask him, questions about. Of course, they'll be working on next season if there is a next season right now. Yeah, and iron does tell you a lot about the spot that you're working. There's no doubt about it. Those are relics too,
That's right, and some of the best relics are iron. Like, I'd love to find a 1600s trade axe. I couldn't imagine finding one of those. That's one of my big wish list items, right? I love axes, and
me and Jeff hunted a spot back probably, I guess it was in the fall, wasn't it, Jeff? And scouting a new spot, and I found 4 or 5 axes pretty well in the same spot there within 20 feet of each other. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if they had a big fight or chopping wood or what.
But it was something went on there because you did find a lot of axe heads. And I was like, man, every time you'd swing a coil, well, here's another axe head. And some of them was pretty nice axe heads. I mean, some of them was hatchets and a few of them was axes. But, I mean, there was quite a few of them in one little location there.
And that's one thing that I personally did not like about the CTX is that I had trouble finding what I call good iron. And what I call good iron is like axe heads and oxen shoes. I really love oxen shoes, and we just don't have them. And the AT Pro, I'm able to tell a nail from an oxen shoe or anything like that, And we've got another call coming in right here. Let's see if we can get them on. Who we got on the line?
Barb.
Hey, Barb. How you doing?
How you doing, Barb?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Just fine.
Have you got
enjoying all this sunshine?
You got a question that you want to ask Chad while we got him on?
Yeah. When can I come visit?
Anytime you want. Actually, I was going to ask Seven. You're in Virginia, right?
No, I'm in Kentucky. Barb, I believe, is in Virginia, aren't you, Barb?
Virginia. And Jeff's in Tennessee.
I'm in
North Carolina.
North Carolina, okay. Yeah, Jeff is in...
I'm in Tennessee. So.
Yeah, Jeff's in Tennessee.
So you guys are only like...
With the redneck.
Yeah, Barb's called the redneck Yankee digger. She's something else, I'll tell you. I was looking forward to meeting her at DIV. Don't know if I'm going to get to go or not, but anyway, it is what it is, and we just missed one another at Asheville a day before yesterday or yesterday. I don't know. I've lost track of time. We drove about 800 miles. My wife and I, when we celebrated our 40th anniversary, Chad, and we just decided that I told her, I said, we've always planned these things, these trips and things. I said, let's just get in the car and just start driving. I said, because when we got married, we didn't know where we was going or what we was going to do. And I said, let's just do that again. And it was one of the most enjoyable trips that I've ever went on.
I bet you it was. Yeah, that's amazing. 40-year anniversary. Wow.
Yeah. Hey, Barb.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah?
You still there, Barb?
Yes, sir.
Oh, You think we can sneak 7 in one of your suitcases? Get him up to DIV?
Sure.
I don't know. It had to be a pretty big suitcase, I'll tell you.
Just a push along one. That's all we need. Something with wheels. Get them in there.
Yeah.
I know. I so want him to come. I'm like, I looked at the list just a bit ago, and nobody else has moved up.
There was one guy moved up yesterday, but he was there was 2 of them that were Winchester man, and they both had the same last name. So I guess they may be father and son or brothers or something. And I noticed that there was one moved up on the 14th, which would be yesterday. So I don't know. Chad, we go to a thing called Digging in Virginia, and it's a paid hunt, and they have a couple of them a year, and you pay an entry fee and go there, and they always make arrangements to hunt some farms there that were Civil War sites, campsites, and what have you. And so it's a good opportunity, to get to dig a lot of Civil War stuff, but also to meet a lot of people and everything.
Yeah, that sounds like it's. I watched a few of those DIV hunts. Someone uses the GPX 5000. I'm bad with names, sorry. Anthony Holster, I want to say.
Yeah, Hollister.
Yeah, he does a lot of those DIV hunts. So, Barb, you're on YouTube also, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll check that out. So that sounds like awesome. You get these farm fields that the battles took place on and whatnot, or campsites.
Campsites mainly. Yeah. Go ahead, Barb.
The last one we went to in November, is that when we went? It was actually a site of a skirmish, and not really a camp per se, more like a fire pit and sitting around. But tons of frags, tons of bullets, the shot stuff. I found one area that, God, I dug, I don't know how many bullets. I was like, yeah, buddy. And then I found that Nesler bullet. That was the find of the week.
Oh, wow. Now, they got this. You hunt the pits. Didn't the Civil War era, there used to be like a lot of, they'd dig these pits to put all their trash in and whatnot? I might be wrong on that, but...
The last place we went, there were no pits, but normally there are.
You find a lot of nice bottles and older bottles and whatnot in those pits, right?
Just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm this year. Well, during the spring, March. I hope we come up on some good pits, because I've been looking for some bottles, and that's one thing in the Civil War relics that I've really not found a lot of is bottles. And I mean, I'm just dying to get into a bottle dump, or like a latrine or something like that. And now they had, I believe it was, it's connected to Coles Hill. They had a lot of pits up there, and then of course they just posted a picture on mytreasurespot.com, and during April they're going to have another hunt somewhere. I believe it's on is it Missionary Ridge? Is that right? Or it's a big ridge. It had a lot of hut sites, and they dug a lot of bottles, and there's still a lot of bottles left. So that would be a good one to get into.
And Chris Heimsoff put in a YouTube link there that some of you can go to if you want to see pits dug. But Chad, they dug huts as well, especially in a winter camp. They would dig down, I don't know, 4 foot probably, and put their tent over that, and it would kind of protect them from the elements in the wintertime. And those are great places to dig.
Yeah, and in my area, they used to do the same. They used to dig down, but they'd put like a teepee style. They'd chop down the trees in the area and whatnot and build like a teepee style top half to it. So it's same thing pretty much, yeah. Keep out of the elements and the wind and whatnot. And
you should find some of those hut tap sites or spots if you locate those War of 1812 camps, because you know that they had to protect themselves from the elements.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I look for too. But you don't know how deep they went, and also what side of the river they were camping on that day. Like, too bad we didn't have weather statements from all the way back then. You could see which way the wind was blowing. They'd pick which side of the river to camp on due to whatever way the wind was blowing that day.
Did they want to be upwind?
Down. Well, yeah, upwind, but they would pick a place with a shoal, like a mountaintop. So, like, they go underneath a cliff area. All along the river there, it's pretty much in a gully. And so a lot of the wind southwest in the area, but they did come across a couple storms during their venture, and they picked the opposite side of the river that day.
That's what we do on Civil War camps here is if you know what time of the year that they were on a camp, in the winter, they would set up on the south or the west slopes because you're going to get the most sun there. Obviously,
right.
In the summertime, they would be on the north slope or the east slope. It'd be cooler there. So a lot of factors to kind of put in. And you were talking about if you could ever find just one of those camps. I know with Civil War soldiers, they would march somewhere about 10 miles a day. Is that right, Jeff?
I believe that's right. Up to if the cavalry at like 18 miles, and then it just depended on the weather, and then
was there a ton of snow in your area though back? I'm not sure the weather you guys get, but in the wintertime, do you guys get a lot of?
No,
down here, our ground, it froze for about 3 weeks there, and this year, and that's abnormal for here. Our winters are very mild.
Well, when these guys were marched, there was 4 blizzards that hit them. Nobody lost their life. Amazingly, I don't. They still talk about how no men were lost on the venture, but yeah, like they went through blizzards and snowstorms. That's why they walked along the river on the ice for an easier trail. But they were still up to 10, 11 inches in snow in some areas. It was amazing.
Yeah. It was, I've got a little creek down here. It's called Bledsoe Creek. And this year it froze, solid for the first time that I've seen since I lived here. And there were people walking across it. And I was like, man, I don't know if I trust that or not. But after doing research, after 3 inches of ice, you can walk across it pretty good. And then it was froze up to like 4 or 5 inches. So,
wow.
That's the first time I'd ever seen that. So hopefully it took care of some of the mosquitoes and stuff like that. We won't have as many ticks this year, Seven.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
The thickens. Going through the thickens.
We are just over 1 hour right now, and Chad had told us that that's about as far as he had time to stay on tonight. Of course, Chad, you're welcome to stay on if you want to, but if you need to get out, don't leave before you give all of your contact information for your YouTube channel and your metal detecting business and all of that.
Oh, we're in the thick of things now. That hour flew by. I'm in it for the long run.
Oh, are you? Well, good. Well, good then.
Well, that's good.
We'll probably run till 7:30 most of the time we do, and I keep watching.
Yeah.
I keep looking at the chat to see if we are getting any more questions in. Of course, the chat kind of takes a life of its own. They talk about a little bit of everything, and I meant to say early on, our heart goes out to those people. The kids and the teachers that lost their life down in Florida. And, I don't want to get into a big conversation on pro-gun or anti-gun or any of that but on the show. But our heart does go out to those families down there.
Yeah, we can't really imagine what they're going through.
Yeah.
No.
We're very fortunate to be able to go and hug our kids tonight, and in my case, grandkids. I don't know what they would. We were gone for most of the week, and I don't know what they did without us. Because as soon as we got home, one of the grandsons came here this morning. Didn't go to school. He was sick. One of them came and needed to be had a doctor's appointment, and then one of the granddaughters had something else and the house was full. I guess they just ran in and out of the house the whole time that we were gone. But that's a good.
That's part of having family.
That's a good.
I mean,
it is a good problem to have. I'll just tell you something other.
It is.
And if you
do we still have Barb on? Is she still on?
I'm still lurking.
Okay. I seen you commenting earlier, and then I was like, well, I wonder if she's still online. And then, of course, that's good. We're glad you called in, Barb.
Barb,
so this next IV hunt already happened, or is it going on soon? Or
it's in March. It will be March the 23rd through the 25th, I believe, because I'm holding our slot. March the 22nd is on a Thursday night, and I'm holding that slot because if I get to go, me and Jeff are going to do a live show at DIV. But if I don't get to go, I'm not even going to talk about DIV.
Well, see, me and Barb, that's going to be our first CS plate.
Well, you and Barb,
we'll find our first CS plate there.
You and Barb just get on out there and stay to yourself, and don't even call into the show because I will not answer the phone.
What about that, Barb?
He don't have my cell phone number, so he'll answer not knowing who it was.
I know your voice. I know your voice, so as soon as I hear it, I'll hang up.
Have somebody else.
Oh, you're on the poopy list, Barb.
No, not really. But, I was so looking forward to, and we've got several guys that are going, and I always do a lot of work there, putting videos together. Of course, I do most of the video work, and I'm not complaining. I love to do it and have the ability to do it. But Jeff will just have to do his own video, I guess, if I don't get to go.
Well, I guess I will. I may get Hornbush to do it, or Barb. Hey, I got Barb. She can do the video.
Yeah, Barb, you put something on there about Canadian large scents. I'm sure you want to ask Chad about those.
Well, somebody asked if they have large scents up there, and I said I thought they had Canadian large scents, but I could be talking, not knowing what I'm talking about.
Yeah, our first large scent started 1861, I want to say, and our penny in the early 1900s till 1919, roughly, was a large scent. Before that, we had tokens here, so everybody used tokens, which was comparable to 1 cent or half a cent token. So yeah, from 1861 up till 1919, let's say, it was all larger cent, and then we moved to the pennies in 1920.
And do you find many old American coins up there?
Yeah, I'm close to the Maine border. Like I'm a 40-minute drive from Maine. So in my area, I'd say about 20 to 30% of the coinage. I find a lot of wheat cents, my fair share of Indian head cents. I don't find a lot of barbers, but walking liberties, I think they're called, stuff like that. So yeah, about 20 or 30% of the coins I find are American. Just because I'm so close to the border.
Well, that's cool.
And you find
that is cool.
There's a lot of Spanish silver up there too. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I found not too many. Like I found a handful of reals in the years I've detected, but I find a boatload of large cents and stuff like that. But in every what are they called? A shilling. Every shilling I find, I don't know if a boatload of 1816 shillings came way back, or the bullhead, the bullhead shilling, 1816?
Yeah, I've seen those.
Every shilling I find is an 1816. I found a lot of those, and it's always that year. It's odd. I don't know if we got a big ship or what, but I never found any other year but 1816 for the 1800 shilling.
I don't know if you're watching the chat.
What was the oldest coin that you'd found?
Well, basically the 1600s one I found there. I got what's the name of the video there?
That 1679 shilling.
See what the video is. I forget the name of the video. Yeah, that's the oldest silver. I've got copper ones that are worn that are early 1700s, and one might be a 1600. I'm not sure. It's hard to get the dates off those, but I have them on my Instagram posts. But yeah, I'd say 1600s one be my oldest. 1773 is my second next oldest silver. So I don't find a lot of the older silver, but the coppers, surely find a lot of those. Which is the opposite for you guys, I think you're saying, correct?
Well, I was fixing to say in the chat, everybody is commenting on you saying that you'd found a handful of the large cents. Large cents are extremely hard to find in our area, but not so much when you go to talking about reals. Now, me and Jeff together, we found a couple of handfuls of reals, and it's not an uncommon find for us, the sites that we hunt. But I've only found, well, if I count, I did find a Canadian large cent a few years back, and I really didn't count it as a large cent. I was looking for an American large cent. But I've only found 3 American large cents in 30-plus years of detecting. So they're as rare as hen teeth down here for some reason.
Yeah, it's the opposite. Same for me, but with reals. Like, I don't, a handful of reals, but the large cents, I can go out and get 7 or 8 in a hunt on a really, really good day. And penny tokens, like the colonial era large cents.
Yeah, we're all coming north.
Yeah, so.
we're going to go through Ohio and get some of their large cents. They have a lot, and then we're coming to New Brunswick. I tell you.
The treasure hunter discovers the find of a lot. Yeah, that's the video with my oldest silver coin. Anyway.
Give that again. I might have jumped on you whenever you were talking there.
Treasure hunter finds. Let me see. Treasure hunter discovers the find of a lifetime. That's the video that I put up with my oldest silver. Now the coppers, they're 1600 or early 1700s. Some of them can't be like identified. Some of them just a date range, not an actual date with the coppers.
Mm-hmm. A lot of your copper, I mean, they get wore real bad, and it's kind of hard to get a date off of. But you know they're mid 1700s. I mean,
yeah, like our half penny tokens. Let's say, you ever see a cartwheel penny from the UK?
Yeah, I've seen those.
I've never seen one.
I've seen those.
The size of them, man. Same with our half penny tokens. It's a hefty. It's almost the size of a dollar. Let's say a American dollar, Morgan dollar.
No, yeah.
And it's just a half penny token. So they're huge coins too. We find a lot of those here.
What about the pine tree shillings? Are any of those found in your area?
They are closer to the main area, like St. Stephen, New Brunswick is called. I think there's one discovered there. Didn't they all come from, I want to say, it was close by, Connecticut? Am I right?
I really don't.
That sounds right.
I really don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody may comment on here in a minute, and I believe Connecticut's right.
Yeah. So in my area, I'm on the edge of Canada. I'm at the very beginning of Canada, the East Coast, right at the start of it. So you go inland a little bit and towards St. Stephen or up towards Quebec. That's where they find those mostly, and that was the main border crossing and trade routes back in the day. There was a trading post in Quebec way back when that the Indians used to use with the trade silver and stuff. So in that area, they discover like a lot more of that stuff than what we do down here.
Uh-huh. And Indian artifacts, have you found several of those?
Well, that's what they're thinking that that annular brooch was trade silver from. You guys ever heard of the Hudson Bay trading?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've never heard of it, but
they're thinking that that's what that was, a piece of trade silver.
Yeah, that was a big trading outpost there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's our main one here. That's about 500 miles from my area, but that was the main one for Canada anyway.
And, like I said, we just don't, Barb, y'all don't find any large scents either, do you, in your area?
Not yet.
Are you still looking for your first one?
Oh, I am, but I want to know how many Indians he has found in Canada.
Indian head scent?
How many Indian heads have you found in Canada?
Oh, quite a bit. I'd say between 30 and 40 to 50 around that area.
You're fired.
That is quite a bit. I've lived down here, and I've only found like maybe 5 or 6. So
oh, really?
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't find that many Indians.
Oh, you know those puff containers, those cheese ball containers, those big containers?
Uh-huh.
I had one of those filled with just your guys' wheat cents over the years. So we're talking like, geez, a couple thousand at least of the wheat pennies. So we've used your guys' pennies like mixed in with ours, just the same.
That's
right?
where all our relics has gone, to Canada.
I guess so.
No wonder we can't find no large scents and Indian heads and all that. They're all in Canada.
And Josh from Beyond Sight and Sound said it's the plank for him, Barb.
Yep.
I've had good luck on Indian heads over the past year. I don't know.
Yeah, you've done.
Yeah, I've
good.
probably got, I'd have to go over and count them, what I've got this year, but I've probably got 15 over the last year. And I went and scouted a site last week and actually found one on the surface. I saw it before I ever heard it with the detector. It was a...
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it was a 1901. It's on a hillside. You have to know the lay of our land here. But it was on the side of a hill, and the house was built kind of just as the hill starts up. And, where it rains and everything, I'm sure it just washed out right there. So, but...
Yeah, it came with a bank or something like that, you say?
Yeah, and cattle had ran in there quite a bit and everything. Jeff and I actually hunted that spot. That was where we walked a mile to go to, Jeff. And it was so hard that day where the cattle had been walking on it that we really couldn't do anything. But
I find a boatload of buttons, but there's the Tomback button. I found I found 2 now, Tomback buttons. In all the years I've been detecting, I find that the strangest thing. People around me find them, but I don't get very many Tomback buttons. I love finding those.
That is strange because
I have a few spots where I found 50 or 60, each spot. And that one place I was talking about earlier, that Martin's blockhouse, I found several there. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called a Betty lamp. It's one of the first lamps, I guess, and they used fish oil in it and just had a wick going down. And I found one of them, and it was still, it's a whole piece. So, it was a great find. But, yeah, Tomback buttons, we have a few of them here.
In 2016, I counted my buttons. Well, I counted them last year, too, but for some reason I counted my buttons because people kept saying, how many buttons do you find in a year? And I said, well, I've never really counted them. But I did in 2016, and I wound up with 301 flat buttons. And
that's a lot of buttons.
I would say a third of those were Tomback. We're fortunate. We find a lot of Tomback buttons here. But we'll find a spot and find Tomback buttons and regular brass flat buttons. But no large cents and very few reals. I would say on the average, I will probably find 50 or 60 buttons to a piece of Spanish silver, whether it's cut or whether it's whole. That's about right, ain't it, Jeff? 50 or 60?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You see Missouri Mike, he posted Jeff's on pace for 150 Indians. So, that's quite a few Indians.
It is.
How do you find that the ground there, you guys' ground's a little bit harsh, right?
Not here.
Well, ours in this area is not too bad. Now, you get in Virginia and then, maybe eastern Tennessee. So, it's some places are good and some places are bad, like in eastern Tennessee. But around southern Kentucky, 7 hours area, I mean, the ground is pretty neutral. So, I mean, it's real good ground.
The problem with Virginia is that it's highly mineralized. It's got a lot of that red clay in. What about in your area, Barb? Is there any of that highly mineralized soil in your area?
Not really. It's just red clay.
Yeah. So you're able to hunt with a VLF and get some fair depth then.
Probably it may be a little mineralized because my AT Pro goes, depending on conditions, 6-8 inches. My Deus, I think the deepest is probably 10 inches here. So it just depends on the area.
And Chad,
yeah, my area it's moderate, iron flake and salt, a little bit of salt content also because of the coastline. So it's average in my area.
And you're, you deal in metal detectors and everything. What makes that soil in Virginia, the highly mineralized soil, why is it so difficult to use a VLF machine and yet a pulse machine can read those targets at just unbelievable depths there? What's the
ground mineral? Basically, that red clay is basically from the glaciers, like back. I bet you that's gold-bearing clay, right? But they find much gold there?
I don't know.
They have back in the day, but I mean, not like California or anything, or Australia, say, where they've got a lot of gold. But I mean, yeah, they have found gold. You could, as you're hunting Virginia, a lot of times in Culpeper, you'll see quartz just laying on top of the ground. So,
yeah,
I mean, they have had gold finds.
It's a rich soil. So I bet you it's even closer to bedrock than, let's say, my area. Like in my area, you can go 50, 60 feet in some areas before you hit bedrock. So in that red clay area, that could be a lot closer to bedrock, so that the minerals over the years, like thousands, tens of thousands of years, will soak up into that soil and cause, havoc on certain machines. Not everywhere, like Las Vegas area, like you say, California and all that, but that red clay can. It's just when you cancel out all those minerals with your ground balance and whatnot, you're going to lose massive amount of depth too.
Well, and we've got a lot of bedrock here in our area, more so in Middle Tennessee than in my area here, because, of course, the river bottoms, you don't hit a lot of rocks in them. But as soon as you get into the hills, there's some spots around Jeff that are almost impossible to dig. I mean, you just don't have any soil at all. And
you go on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the bedrock may be 2 inches down, and of course that's good. I mean, you're not going to have to dig deep for your target. I've found it was 1839 seeded dime. It was like 2 inches deep. It was on top of a rock covered with moss, and it'd been sitting there since the day it was dropped. And then, but I mean, it's pretty good hunting if you're just scraping the ground. But when you go to, you can't dig in it, of course.
And it's worse. No. It's worse at Murfreesboro. That's on southwest of Jeff a little ways. And we went down there, and I've been down there twice hunting with Ron and Tim, the dig dogs. And, man, there's a lot of rocks down there, I'll tell you. And roots.
Yeah, you can get to that hot rock. You're not going to do very well, right? And, the hot areas is just a lot of that mixed in with the dirt, right, over, thousands and thousands. Yeah. That's basically all it is.
Yeah.
Chad, one question I had. Do you have to worry about bulls or cows where you hunt most of the time?
I had horses for me. I went on a farmer's field one time, and a bunch of horses came over to me, 2 of them, and they started eating my shirt and pulling on my shirt. They ripped the shirt right off me. The only problem I ever had was, they kept on grabbing my shirt with their teeth, and I was like all nervous trying to get away from them. They just walk up slowly and snag me right by the shirt, end up ripping it right off me.
Well, Jeff got attacked. Jeff got attacked by a bull because he called it stupid, And
Ron and Tim, you can see Ron just put "We Rock." What about you, Barb? Do you have to worry about too many bulls?
No, I don't mess with them. I don't go nowhere near them.
Yeah, well, we try not to, but on this case, he come towards us. So I mean, it was it was an adventure. I mean, I hope somebody got some of that on video.
Well, I didn't, because I was trying to warn you, and then me and Ron was trying to put up a gate to keep them out of the field that we were in. And of course, they busted the gate down. But
and they had the big old horn.
No, they didn't have horns, but they can still kill you just by.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this one here was.
See, I heard Seven say. Of course, he'd been kind of acting. I called him stupid. I told him not to act stupid. And then after that, he started acting more stupider, and more stupid, stupider. I don't guess is a word, but anyway, of course, he kept on getting closer to us, and then Seven and was it Ron? They walked off from we kind of separated, and the bull was coming towards me, and then I heard Seven say, "Watch it!" And then all of a sudden I turned around and looked, and the bull was on the ground. I was like, "What's going on here?" And then, of course, he stood up and he started pawing and snorting and spitting everywhere. And then, luckily, as he was coming towards me, his feet slid out from under him in the mud. And then finally, I was right there at the fence, so I just threw the detector and the shovel over the fence, and then here I went. So But it was a great adventure. It was something. We learned something from that.
That's for sure.
You guys don't have a lot of bugs to deal with, or you don't have. I know you don't have chiggers up there. We've got a bad problem with chiggers down here.
Well, this last year I found they're not a horse fly, but they're almost like a deer fly, like the black fly has like a zebra-style wings on it. I'm not sure what they're called. We had a bad problem with those, and I got eaten alive in one of my videos. My ankles and wrists swelled up for a week. But as far as mosquitoes go, no, not too bad. But those, I want to call them horse flies. Yeah, they were bad last year.
Well, I heard something. I don't know if it's true. You may try it and get back with us and tell us. But they said if you would put a dryer sheet, a bounce sheet or something, if you put a couple of those in your pocket or up around your collar, that that would repel those black flies. I know what you're talking about because, they will bite the time out of you.
Yeah, and they don't feel too good either when they bite you.
No, and I guess some people may be allergic to them. I spray with the highest DEET that I can, and I don't have any problem with ticks or anything, but ticks love Jeff.
They do. I don't know what it is, but you're always wanting to film right in the middle of a cedar tree, and then, of course, that's where ticks love, especially the deer ticks. So, but yeah, I don't know what it is.
Tick magnet. He got 11 on him there last year in one outing. I didn't have one on me, luckily, but I'm always tearing them off him. That's for sure. I don't know if I could
Purdue, bounce sheet under each armpit.
I'll try that.
My chat's locked up, so you guys will have to keep me informed of what's going on in the chat. After so many comments, I don't know why Spreaker does that, but
yeah, Ron puts Skin So Soft, and I've heard that too. That Skin So Soft works very well. And then, Barb, what do you use?
Nothing.
You don't use nothing?
No.
I
will when I go to Massachusetts because I do not want Lyme disease again. But around here, no, I don't use anything. I must stink, so they don't bother me.
Yeah. I figure you're just too mean for anything to bite you.
That's what I was fixing to say. She's so mean that they've got enough sense not to bite her. She bites back. What have you got planned for this year as soon as the weather breaks, Chad?
My next outing is going to be hopefully the Equinox will show up, and I'll be able to take that out and do some tests with it and give you guys some answers to some questions. Anyway, I don't mind showing the bad stuff with the machine either, but plus I'm going to be doing some shorelines this year. I'm going to get into that aspect of it, maybe some river hunting here and there. I try and do as much as I can, right? Different styles. My favorite's farmland and whatnot, colonial eras, but I'm going to get, my feet wet with some river detecting and, like I said, the GPX 5000. Once I get that figured out, I'm just studying up. That's not too easy of a machine to learn. So
I will give you one. I'll give you one tip on GPX, and me and Jeff learned this. I hunted a Civil War site here. I've hunted it for 3-4 years with VLF machines, and pretty well had it where I couldn't get another signal. Whenever I got my GPX, I went there and hunted and found quite a few bullets that I'd missed with the VLFs, and then it kind of dried up a little bit. But I was running my gain at 9, anywhere from 9 to 13, and I turned my gain down to 5, and it opened up a whole new area of bullets. So that's something that you might want to try, and I don't know the reasoning for it. You may have some explanation as to why that would work.
Could have been the halo effect like you were talking about earlier, right? You might have been just overshooting it there with a higher gain. Who knows? But yeah, that's a good tip. Lower the gain, maybe.
Yeah, now I dug some 31 caliber round balls at like 14 inches, and I had even gone down to 4 on that in some spots that started having a little bit more iron, a little bit more square nails. It's hard to tell a square nail from something else, on a GPX, but you learn, and it's a great machine. I know that you're going to like it.
Now, do you do a one-over with your other machines, and then use the GPX as a cleanup style?
Yeah. Go ahead, Barb.
I don't use my GPX here. I save it totally for Virginia.
For the harsh, yeah.
You cannot use a GPX in a spot that like a house site, where you've got a ton of junk. That's where the Deus or AT Pro and hopefully the Equinox is going to shine, in those areas.
Equinox.
Well,
he calls it the Equinox.
I'm going to do like I'm going to do like Keith Jones. I'm just going to start calling it the Knox.
Yeah, the Knox.
Well, hey, there we go.
Well, guys, we're coming. Go ahead, Barb.
It's kind of like Deus and Deuce.
Yeah, I've heard people I've heard people say Deuce as well. Anybody got anything else that you want to run past? We've already gone a little over an hour and a half. I guess we ought to think about closing it out.
I'm good. First time I made right at 7:00.
Yeah, I was impressed. I really was. And first time that you got to call in, and I'm glad that we've got. I think we've got all of our Skype problems and everything finished
up. It seems
up.
to be working good.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, this is a milestone. We made it up. Barb called in, so I mean, hey.
And this is only our 15th
That's
show.
That's a bucket lister right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's one thing that I wanted to ask you, Chad, before you get away. What I know that you'd like to find those War of 1812 camps, but what one relic or Cohen is at the top of your bucket list right now?
Oh, let me see. I'd love to find a barrel off of a bayonet off an old rifle from the Civil War, or 1812, or something like that. So any gun parts, the flange part, the trigger mount piece.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The cover that goes over the trigger mount. One of those. I never got one of those. Those are on my top of my list. Mostly, like I said, military style relics. Coins, coins are great, but I love the military stuff too. Or even grape shot. You guys ever find any grape shot up in that area?
I have on the count. Count that I'm working. I found probably 4 or 5 grape shot, and I found those with CTX, which that kind of blows my comment about not being able to find the good iron with CTX, but I found those with CTX.
Yeah, something like that would just make my day for sure. Like another, let's say 1700s or early 1800s gold coin. That makes my day. But the reality, I don't find many of those either. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Seven? What's on top of your bucket list?
Being married another 40 years.
Well, hey, there you go.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
Yep. And we're going.
What about you, Barb?
Oh, a CS plate.
There you go. Everybody wants a CS
I'm with
plate.
you.
Yeah. Maybe you guys will find one over there this year. Hey, Chad,
we'll call and send you plenty of pictures if we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll just
finds one of them over the head with the shovel.
Yeah, I'll just go on up, and if I don't get drawn, I'm gonna just go up there and find me a handful of large cents with Chad. Hey, Chad, before you get out, tell everybody how that they can contact you on YouTube and your metal detecting shop and everything.
Yeah, so you can contact me at my Gmail is detectingnb@gmail.com. I don't really go with the Facebook. I have a little page there, but it's mostly Instagram. I have a personal message me on Instagram. That's Diggs4ever, Diggs 4 ever. Or you can stop in the site. I'm starting to do up a blog on there. That's maritimemd.ca or .com.
Okay, great. And you've been a great guest. We appreciate you coming on tonight. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Didn't get to name off everybody. As I said, my chat locked up. But I think we had a great show, and thank you, Barb, for calling in. And as always, I thank Jeff for staying with me and being such a good co-host. Now, if he goes to Virginia and I don't, well, I'll change probably all of that. But I'm going to put you guys.
I've got a plan for that. So
okay, well, but we appreciate you coming on, Chad, and best of luck. And looking forward to talking to you again after you get a few hours with that Knox under your belt and learning more about that machine.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for having me. It's been a pleasure. That's for sure.
Yeah, you've been a great guest.
Yes.
Condolences, Jeff. There, I know it's hard with your mother-in-law and whatnot. So I just want to say sorry to hear about that. But hopefully, 2008 to be a great year, and I hope everything works out for you good. That's for sure. Nobody wants to go through that type of thing, but sorry to hear about that.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, it was a hard time, but I mean, like, it's always harder on the people that stay behind than it is the ones that leave. So
that's right.
I mean, we'll get through it as a family.
And once again, all of our thoughts and prayers are with those poor families down in Florida that lost. I'm going to mute the Skype channel and close the show out. If y'all want to wait online, I'll talk to you again as soon as I close the show out. Certainly do appreciate everybody that was on the chat tonight. And I think we had a great show, and you made it great by being with us. So we will see you next Thursday night here on Relics Radio. Thank you for joining us tonight on Relics Radio. We certainly appreciate it. Be sure and join us live each Thursday night at 6 p.m. Central Time. That's 7 o'clock Eastern Time here on Spreaker. Or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker, iTunes, or iHeartRadio. Please take a minute and hit the like button and be sure and follow us so that you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Diggs4ever or Tennessee Jeff. Or you can check out our Facebook page, Relics Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to Diggs4ever@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope that you'll join us next Thursday night, and until then, get out there and dig some history.